guys, welcome to the video. So today we're painting this doe, and you can see here that I am tracing it. So I have this really large sketchbook, the Holbein one, and so I am tracing it in there. You can see I'm using this Carmine Lake Caran d'Ache pencil. So it's a water soluble and I really enjoy the colour of it. And yeah, so it kind of blends in with the painting and gives you those little bits of you know, shadow areas and things like that. So what we're doing is we're just starting out painting the body, and I'm using a mix of buff titanium and hematite. So that is the Isaro buff titanium and the Daniel Smith hematite. And you could also use any kind of like a granulating black as well. So, and I'm using quite a watery mix. And then you can see that I'm also just putting my brush into the water just once to rinse off a little bit of the colour. There's still colour in there, but it's going to give me a little bit of a lighter variation. And then here I am using some of the Shell Harp Light. This is from Earth Mineral Arts. You can also use an ochre. Generally I like to use Daniel Smith French ochre, and I'm just doing the same thing. So I'm dropping in little bits of this colour throughout where I can see kind of a like either a change, like a muscle change, or a you know, just any kind of shaping there. And then I've also kind of added this little bit of fur around the neck here. And one of the deers that we saw had this kind of little bit more of kind of like that lassie fur there. So I've just added a little bit of that in there. And again, I'm just sort of mixing different variations of these three colours where I can see, yeah, just kind of changing that up along the body and the neck. As I'm starting with more of the buff titanium and hematite mix, and then I'm kind of ending at the head with just the more of the Shell Harp Light. So Okay, so I used the Van Dyke brown for the hooves, and then I used like the kind of a brown, like a with a white, like a violet earth with a white for the tail there, and then I'm using the tourmaline black from Daniel Smith for the nose, and a little, I think this is Van Dyke brown for the eyes. So one thing with the eyes is you can see them kind of making little circles for the highlights, and then I start those circles both on the left top in both eyes, so the light would be hitting kind of in a similar spot on the both eyes. So that's what I'm doing there. And yeah, you can see that I've changed brushes here. So this is a really tiny brush. I think this is, I'll have to check, but I will put the brushes that I'm using below. But I've been using these Raphael long handle brushes, but I do highly recommend the Escoda Reserva brushes. So I'll list them both below. Yeah. So I've been using the long handle brushes lately, but I have used the short handled Escoda ones for many years, and I really like them, especially if you're just starting out. So what I'm doing for the shadow area here is I'm using a mix of like the Van Dyke brown and like a hematite violet with a touch of Daniel Smith amethyst in it. So you can use just a purple and a brown, watered out to get kind of those nice shadowy type colors. So, and yeah, I'm just adding some of the, I painted the little roses there with shell pink, and I'm adding the Isaro powder pink on there. And then you can see like I'm just glazing over the top, so I'm just kind of finishing the deer with some little different layers, little finishing accents to kind of bring that shape a little bit to life. And let's see, so now we're just painting the little dandelions. So I have just used that same mix that I used on the tail. So this mix is one that we were doing in the video, the 2022 favorites video, which is I think the creamer iron glimmer violet with a little bit of that green that I made with, it's like it's a darker green with like a mix, like a lot of white, but you can just use something like a violet earth, hematite violet or something like that with some white in it. And yeah, then we're just going through, and I'm using like a spring green, I'm not exactly sure, I think this is the Isaro green gold or something like that, and I'm using that just as a very sort of bright and cheery spring green for the grass there. And then we're going in and kind of painting the emblem in this other deer, and I'm using shell pink, but you can see that like as I go around I add a little bit more of that kind of brown mix, so I mute it a little bit. Okay, so I am trying to create this kind of branch that comes down from the side there. I was going to do it right across the page, but I thought that I would use the left side to create these really large leaves and kind of vines that are going up the side, and you'll see more about those in the August and September nature vlog. So this is kind of inspired by footage in that video, and yeah, so I'm just going around kind of, and you can see that I'm not forming the leaves exactly, I'm just kind of making a suggestion that there are really large, beautiful, lush leaves there. I'm using a lot of different greens. I just used the Compose green by Holbein, that's the very minty one. This one here is the Davy's Grey, which is more of a sage grey green by Winsor and Newton. I used the perylene green up in the top there, and then I'm using the Daniel Smith green gold as well. So I'm using quite a range of greens. That one there is the Daniel Smith phthalo yellow green, phthalo green yellow shade. But again, you can mix a lot of different greens with blues and yellows that you have as well. So okay, so you can see that I've switched to an even larger brush. So this one is the Escoda Versatil, and it's a cat's tongue. I think it's a size 16 or 20. Again, I'll link it below. And I really liked this is kind of the first time I've used this brush to actually make the larger leaves, and I really enjoyed it. It was quite easy to kind of just move it around and make these different leaves. So once those were kind of put in it sort of where I wanted them, I just went around with water, and I am creating some kind of watery, more shadowy vines there that are kind of blending into the background. I'm also using, this is kind of a mix of that phthalo green with the perylene green, and just creating the background there. I'm doing sort of a light wash in parts, and then also dropping in some more colour in parts as well, where I think it might look a little bit more like some larger bushes. And you can see that I'm just kind of going around with different colours and just layering those leaf areas. So that's it, guys. That is the finished dough. And I think there was one other thing that I wanted to mention, which was when I was I think this is like a 9x12 or even larger, this sketchbook. I got it from I'm not sure, but I will link it below. And yeah, anyway, because I've got the larger format there that I can do it on, you can see my little visitor. Because I and was doing it in a larger thing, I was able to space out the sort of top emblem and the actual deer. So I did this off the printables, which will be on sale in my shop at the minute, and it comes in like a booklet of different things, but you can see that like I traced the one and then I moved the page down and I traced the other one to just give that a little bit more space. And yeah, this is just a really nice one as well to kind of try out different backgrounds, try out different colors. And yeah, I hope you guys have a really wonderful couple of weeks. I will see you with my next video in 2 Saturdays. Bye.